Hi everyone, welcome to this video tutorial on the Chrome browser extension Salesforce AI Analyzer. So this is actually kind of an upgrade of an old extension that I created called Salesforce UI Data Inspector. So I'm actually just going to rename this and add a few new features that we are going to talk about now. All right, so let's get started. So today we'll be looking at these two components, LWC components, to see how our extension can analyze it and help us understand it more. So we have a parent component here at the top, which has attributes like account type, and it is showing a static value of prospect. We have a ERP sync ID, which is showing pending. Then we have a toggle button for active and inactivating and marking this as a priority account. Then we have a child component here. So this is just for purposes of showing you that the extension can detect a parent and a child component. There's actually no other use to this child component. Okay, it is just showing two static contacts. And so with that, oh yeah, we have this button as well, sync with ERP system. So when we click on it, the LWC component will send the account details to the Apex controller. It will run a few queries, it will do a call out, and it will get us a new ERP sync ID. So we will see how our extension is analyzing all that is happening in the background through the use of debug logs. So first we'll start with the first feature, which is SOQL Analyzer. And in every feature on the left hand side, you will have something like this, somewhat of a setup section where you can mention your user. So when the extension loads for the first time, it will automatically detect the URL that you are on and the user you're logged in with. So it will capture the URL as well as a user. And if you have an active trace flag already on your user, it will show that. Otherwise, it will show a create trace flag user. So you can create an sorry, it will show a create trace flag button, and you can just create a new trace flag on your user at the finest level automatically from here. So by default, it is of 60 minutes. You can increase it as well. And yeah, it will show your user here. You can find other users also through the input box. And once it is able to find them through this button, find user, it will show them here. And by default, I have put a log limit of 10 so that we'll only analyze 10 logs to begin with, because most of our analysis shows up in the up to the latest 10 logs, right? And I'll show you what this template prompt template is about once we see the analysis of the queries first. So I'll begin with the process. I'll click on this toggle and we'll click on this button, which will start the process in the Apex, and it will do a call out and bring us a sync ID here. So I'll click, and here it is. The account type has become ERP synced and we have a sync ID. So now if I click on this button, load logs in the extension, it will load the latest log that has been generated. So in this case, we only have one log which went to the class Apex, account sync controller, and it executed this method sync enterprise account. So you can also see a preview of this log by clicking on this view log button, and it will open up a pop-up here. You can see here the same method and class here. And this pop-up will highlight the queries that it is able to find, simple SOQL queries. Okay, you can close this. You can also download this log if you want from here. Log file will be downloaded. Now to analyze this, we just need to click on it and it will show an analysis on the right hand side. So what it is showing is that however many queries it has found, and for each query it will kind of try to resolve the query by searching for all the filters that are there in the where clause, and if it is able to find all of them, it will show up as a resolved query. Otherwise it will show up as a unresolved query like this one here at the bottom. So for resolved or unresolved queries, what you can do is you can ask Agentforce also to verify that the query is resolved correctly, because in some cases it might not be resolved correctly, and you can send the query and the Apex class and the debug log, with the debug log details which are related to that query, to Agentforce to get it verified. So for example, I'll just click on this Agentforce verify button here for the first query. Okay, and Agentforce will verify that this is the correct resolved query, that and it will display it here. So this Agentforce is able to do because we have set up a prompt template in our org, which I showed you earlier. So you can write up the prompt template as you wish. So basically in this case, I have written it like this. I have given it a role saying that you are an expert Salesforce developer and architect. Your task is to analyze a SOQL query which contains missing bind variables such as temp var 1, 2, and you have to determine the actual runtime values using the given Apex source code and that Salesforce debug log snippet. So here we provide the input values of the query, the log snippet, the Apex code, and here we can specify exactly how we want the response to look like. Okay, it's up to you if you want just the result of the query, or if you want a deeper analysis by Agentforce on how query maybe could be improved, if there are any issues with it. And once you have the response, you can use this button fetch current results, which will run this query. So I'll click on this and it will scroll down and will show an execution of the query live here. And you might see different records than what was showing here at the top earlier, or you might see no records at all, because by the time the transaction has ended for the debug log, the records might have been deleted. Okay, or it might have been they might have been updated, so you might not see the expected results. Just keep that in mind. So now that we have verified it, we can see it says Agentforce verified. For every query, you can see the original query here as well to confirm that this is what was executed in the Apex class. All right, and here you can see the source from the query is coming from. So it says Apex line number 13. It will show you the Apex class as well as the method from where it came. You can copy it by just clicking on it, and it will get copied to clipboard. And here you can see it was able to find extension was able to find all the relevant where class filters for this query as well. So for this one also, you can click on the button fetch current results, and it will run the query and show you the results live at the bottom here. Okay, you can copy the query or copy the results of the query into a CSV file. All right, so I'll just close it for now. And yeah, so for unresolved queries such as this one, so this was the original query, so on the case object. So this has nothing to do with the process of ERP sync ID, but I've just mentioned this query here to show you an example that if it is not able to resolve, what you can do. So of course you can use Agentforce to get to verify this query and get the resolved query. But also if in case you know what the variables are supposed to be here, you can just use this button manual variable mapping to specify those variables. So if you scroll down, and for each query filter, you can specify the variable that you already know it is supposed to go here. For example, for account ID, I know that this variable account ID has the correct value. For status of the case, I know that this parent attribute, class attribute has the expected values and resolve status. So when I specify both the values, I'll see this button reanalyze with overrides, and I'll click on this, and I can see the resolved query now. Okay, the account is this ID and status is pending integration, right? So again, if you want, you can just verify it from Agentforce, or you can leave it here. And so yeah, that's about it for SOQL Analyzer. Also, yes, you can filter which queries you want to see by object. You can just click on a particular object here, like account. You'll just see the account queries or just the lead queries, etc. Okay, so let's move to another feature. Let's now first see the field tracker actually, because since we have run the debug log just now, we will get a accurate response, accurate results in this feature. Otherwise, if we will run the process few more times, it will generate similar debug logs and which will affect the field tracker feature here. So in the field tracker feature, basically what you can do is, let's say you have a particular field such as a status field on an account, and you have a complex process in which the status field gets updated multiple times, and it gets updated in different components, like maybe in a flow or a workflow, or maybe across different Apex classes or triggers, and you want to see how the status has been updated throughout the process. You can use field tracker in that scenario. So here I'll click on the load logs again. You can see the setup is almost the same, except that we have a different ROM template this time. So we'll see the use case of that as well. First, I'll click on the load logs button. It will fetch the same single load debug log that we saw earlier. Okay, and here we can specify which object and which field from that object we want to track. So here, let's say that for the account object, I want to track the type field, account type field. So earlier it was prospect and now it is ERP synced. So I'll type field here, that's the name of the field, and we'll just click on track field lifecycle button. It will analyze this log and see what all values the type field has went through. Okay, so here it says saying that timeline for across account or type field found across one logs. We found two assignments. So earlier it was pending ERP sync, and then it has become ERP synced. Okay, so by default, if there are any uh, DML executions that has happened in the log, those will be hidden by default. But if you want to see them, you can click on this checkbox here and it will show you those as well. So those are not necessarily helpful, but since the field might have gotten updated in the DML update here or upsert, this will show up if you click on this checkbox. Okay, you can copy this timeline as well. And yeah, that is the main purpose of field tracker. I showed you this now because we might want to start that process again to analyze LWC to see the LWC analyzer feature. But if we do the same process and we have the same debug logs doing the same thing, and if we try to analyze them in field tracker, then timeline will get a little bit messed up because you will see the same fields, same field values assignments again, right? So yeah, now let's go to LWC Analyzer. So of course, in this one, we try to analyze what the LWC is doing. So let's actually see it in a little bit of detail this time, what it is actually doing. So I'll open the LWC. So this one parent component is called the Enterprise Account Sync Hub, and it has these two attributes at the top: account type showing the type value and ERP sync ID showing the ERP sync ID. So both are coming from the same attribute here. So we have defined it here at the top as a static variable first. And so of course, every time the component is loading, it is actually showing a static value of prospect and pending. Okay, it has other attributes as well, just billing details. And whenever actually we click on the toggle button of flag is priority account. We have this on change, which calls this method handle priority toggle, and in this one handle priority toggle, we change some of the attribute values of billing details. We change the payment terms to net 15 if it is checked. If it is unchecked, we change it to net 30. And if it is checked, we add a priority surcharge of 500 because now it has become a priority account. Otherwise, we delete that property. Okay. Other than that, if here we are just showing a contact list, so that is not really useful in the scenario to us. It is just to show you that the LWC Analyzer will detect child components as well. So below that, we have the sync with ERP system button, and we have a handle. Click on that as well. And this will actually do the call out. Sorry, it will send the details to Apex controller, and Apex controller will do the call out. So it will send details such as account ID and sync state, which goes as the payload. And whatever result we get, we store it in the type, and whatever ERP response we get, we store in the ERP sync ID, which is then shown on the UI. Okay, so for the Apex controller, so this is the controller and this is the method sync enterprise account. So here, as I mentioned, we have a few queries that we already saw in the SOQL Analyzer feature. We saw a query on account, opportunity, lead, and on case, which was unresolved. And below that, we have the call out. So we are doing a call out, dummy call out, basically using a name credential called demo ERP API. This is the body we are sending. Okay. I'm showing the request variable here just to show you that it will be visible when we see the when we will explore the callout analyzer feature. Okay, so we'll come to that, and here we are doing the actual callout, sending the dummy request, and yeah, so the response we are getting, we are storing it in callout status and ERP response here. Then first we are updating the type to pending ERP sync, which we saw in the field tracker, and then if it is synced, we are changing it to either ERP synced or ERP sync failed based on the response. Okay, and the final response we are sending back to the LWC. And when it actually gets updated, we have a trigger as well. And in the trigger, we are checking if it is if getting ERP synced, then we are changing the description to verified and synced. Otherwise, we are just changing it. Otherwise, we are sorry, yeah, if it is getting verified, then verified and synced. And if the annual revenue is greater than 1 million, then we are changing it to critical verified synced. So we will see some of this as well. Uh, okay, so this is what the component is doing. So now let's go back to see how the extension is able to analyze it. Okay, so here we can see the type is still prospect and the description is blank. Actually, description might have gotten updated already. So let me refresh the page once. Type also should be updated. Yeah, it is ERP synced because we clicked on the button before, and description is critical, verified and synced. So let me revert these values. Let me make this type to prospect as well. Okay, so now let's actually see the LWC Analyzer in action. So first of all, what we can do with LWC Analyzer is that we can scan the page for LWCs and find the one that we want. So when you click on it, you will see a component tree here, and it will show you LWCs that it has found. So for example, if I click on this accounts in context, it will show me this child component that is highlighted. And if I click on this one, the whole parent component will be highlighted. And when you select a component, it will show you this window here where you will see two tabs: Agentforce Analysis and Properties Explorer. So in the Properties Explorer, you can see the latest values of the LWC. So it is showing you the sync state that is currently present in the LWC. You can see billing details, net 30, and we can see contact list as well. But what you can also do is that you can record the component and you can make some changes such as activating this uh, toggle button or clicking on this button, and you will see what the properties, how the properties are being updated when you do these changes in the component. For example, I'll click on this record reactivity button. So it will now start capturing snapshots every time there's a UI change to the component. So for example, I'll click on this toggle. So now it is saying capture two changes. Now I'll click on this button and it will track whatever changes have been done that are being tracked in the LWC component. So for example, type might have changed, ERP sync ID might have changed. So it is possible that multiple changes are being done. For example, initially we are changing the type ourselves, and then we are getting the response from the Apex controller, and after that we are changing the type again. So in that scenario, two changes will be captured. So when I click on this button now, you'll see captured three changes and then four changes. So let's see what those changes are actually, and we can see them by clicking on the button stop recording. So as soon as you click on it, you'll see the snapshots that it has captured. So four snapshots have been captured. And let's go to the beginning actually. So initially it was tracking one attribute, one variable sync state. It had these values. Type was prospect, ERP sync ID was pending, and payment terms was net 30. So when we go to the second snapshot where we clicked on the toggle, we can see that payment term has become net 15 because of the toggle. As we saw in the code here, when we click on it, it becomes net 15. So it has tracked that. And when we go to snapshot 3, we can see that uh, authenticating with ERP has been captured. So earlier it was prospect. And then finally, when we go to snapshot 4, from authenticating with ERP, it became ERP sync when we got the value back from the controller, and the ERP sync ID also got updated with the value that we received from the controller, right? So this is kind of like the way we track changes in the debugger functionality in the browser. You can now do it here as well. And you can also export this whole timeline data with this button. It will create a JSON file that you can then import into another uh, window of the same org hopefully. And when you'll click on this component, you will be able to see the import timeline data, and you can import that file. Okay, and then it will show you the uh, uh, record timeline here. So once you have the timeline data, you can also have debug logs if you want, and you can send all of that data, the debug logs as well as the timeline data, to Agentforce for analysis. And you can ask question as well to Agentforce. For example, you can ask why did the ERP sync ID change? Okay, so let me just type that here. Why did the ERP sync ID change? And what the extension will do is it will send the LWC HTML file, JavaScript file. It will analyze the uh, debug log. It will look for the Apex controller from this line here, and it will send the method from that Apex class as well to Agentforce for analysis and to get the answer to this question. So again, the response will come based on the template that you have written. So in this particular case, if you click on the expand setup, again, you will see template being defined here, which is this one, explain LWC component. And this one I have written it in this manner. I am saying that you are an expert Salesforce technical business analyst. I will provide you with HTML and JS of a Salesforce component along with backend execution trace, which is the debug log. It will show you the Apex method, triggers, and flows that were fired. and your job is to explain what this component does from an end user perspective, what does it display, okay? And if the user is asking any question, then it will answer that question as well. Okay, and yeah, the question that you send will be given here in the input custom prompt. So I'll share all of these prompt templates in the description, but of course you can write them in your own way, in whatever way you want Agentforce to analyze their component. Okay, so let's see this in action. I'll click on the button Ask Agentforce. It will to analyze the component files as well as debug log. It will try to answer this question. Okay, so depending on your log size and component size, it will take some time. So as I have shown you in the prompt, first it will try to explain the component from the end user perspective. So it is telling me what the user sees. It sees account type, sync ID, and all these details. And after explaining the component, it will try to answer the question as well. So this is the question that I asked. Why did the ERP sync ID change? So now it is saying based on the analysis, it would have changed only in one of these ways based on the code. After the button was clicked, Apex response updated it. So that was one way. It did not change because of the priority toggle. Okay. And what can be stated with confidence here? The only code path in this component that updates the ID uh, is a successful completion of this method. So if we are getting successful response, then we update the new ERP ID value. So as you can see, it will provide you with a proper analysis as well as a summary based on the prompt template that you are given. You can ask another question as well, but keep in mind that this is not like a chatbot. This is not a follow-up question. So Agentforce doesn't remember the previous question and answer. So whatever question you ask for each question, the extension will send the same files and debug logs again. And based on that, it will answer another question. So here you can see what the extension is sending to Agentforce. So it is sending HTML file, JS file, contextual record data of this ID, and this question that you will ask. Okay. So yeah, you can ask another question, or you can copy the explanation that Agentforce has given you, or you can just close this. Once you have closed it, if you want to see the last response again, you can just click on the button Show Last Response, and it will show you the same response once again. And again, yeah, you can ask another question, or you can close this. So yeah, this is LWC Analyzer. It has a similar setup that we talked about for detecting the URL. If you want to keep the extension open, and if you switch to another URL, another record, you can just click on the detect URL uh, so that it will find the record ID and everything properly. Okay, and you can stop the trace as well from here, but we need it, so let's keep going. We'll go to the last feature, and not the last actually, but yeah, the next one, Callout Analyzer. So this one will analyze how the callouts are happening in the debug logs. Okay, so of course you can see similar setup on the left hand side, but with a different template name this time. So let's see what we can do with Callout Analyzer. So first of all, again, we'll click on the Load Logs button. Will load up whatever logs it has. So we have done the same call out twice by clicking on the button twice. So that's where the same log is coming with a different timeline. You can see 147, 129. So let's see what happens when you click on a log tile here. So we'll click on it, and on the right hand side it will show an analysis. So at the bottom here you can see it is showing the request details, the endpoint. It has happened because it is a named credential, and this is the name credential, and this is the Apex class path. through which the callout has happened. Okay, so if you have like multiple classes and the callout is buried deep beneath somewhere in a particular controller or service class, it will show you all of that here. You can also open the name credential directly by clicking on this link here. It will show you the name credential details as usual. Okay, so I'll go back to the extension and you can also see the response payload. So this of course depends on the response payload being shown in the uh, debug log. So you can of course again see the debug logs from here. It will open up in a new window and somewhere here we'll see the callout response being highlighted. So this is a callout response that we are seeing in the extension. Okay, so I'll just close this and the request payload is not actually uh, shown in the debug log by Salesforce, but if you have saved the request payloads in some variable or maybe you are showing it in a debug log line, system debug line, then you can print it here. So for example, so as I showed you earlier, I have uh, written a system debug line here to show the request, HTTP request through this variable. So we can see that here now, request variable, and it will show me what the request was. So it doesn't show the body unfortunately, but it will show you the call out and what the method was. Okay. If you don't have a debug line, if you have saved it in a particular variable, then you can display that variable here as well. So similarly, it will show you the variable's value. Okay. And again, with this one as well, you can ask Agentforce about this call out, whatever you want. So for example, I can ask what is the timeout for this API. So in this case, the extension will send the particular debug log, not the whole debug log, but snippets of the debug log. It will send the Apex class, the whole class, not the, sorry, not the whole class, but the method that was called to make the call out, which is this one, sync enterprise account. Okay, and it will ask Agentforce this question as well. So let's see. Click on this button, ask Agentforce. So again, depending on the prompt that you have written, Agentforce will try to give us the answer. So in this case, it is saying that it completed in 603 milliseconds. Uh, but what it cannot confirm is from the log is the configure timeout setting because no source code was retrieved and there is no request.set timeout. So it is saying that there was no set timeout in the Apex class and there was no set timeout in the debug log as well. So the answer is actual observed duration is this 603 and configure timeout value is unknown from the provided logs. Okay, and in the Apex as well, if it is explicitly used, if it is not accurately mentioned, the call uses a default platform timeout. Okay, so which we know is 10,000 milliseconds. And basically, yeah, this response Agentforce is giving based on what the template is. And in this case, the template was quite simple. You are an expert Salesforce developer, debugging in API integration. This is the user question. These are the call out details, Apex code, debug log. So based on the provided code and logs, answer the question clearly and concisely. So whatever you specify here, according to that, Agentforce will provide you the answer. Okay, so this was the call out analyzer. So now, yeah, we have covered all the four new features. The network inspector is an existing feature, as I mentioned. Uh, it was the section is actually going to be an upgrade of the existing Salesforce UI Data Inspector, and in the UI Data Inspector, we had the network inspector tab. But in this one now, also I have added a button to get your network call out or response analyzed by Agentforce. So for example, I'll repeat the same process to capture the network this time. And to do that, I need to actually click on the button start capturing. So capturing currently it is showing 0. And if I click on this button, sync with ERP, it will the callout will happen, and whatever is captured by the network tab of the browser, that will be displayed here in just a prettified manner. And you can see we have the request here that the LWC is sending and the response that we are getting from Apex. So we can get this analyzed again with Agentforce just by clicking on this button. So, based on the prompt, it will provide us a response. Okay, so again here you can see we are sending all of these details. This time we're sending a network request URL, what the request method was, what was the payload, and what is the response payload. So this is all from the network, and this is the user's question. So and we didn't have any option to ask a question the first time, but once you get the response, the default response, you can ask a question from here. Okay, so this is the response that it has given, what class was called, what method was called, what parameters were sent, data being transferred, and everything that it is able to analyze from the network request. Okay, so yeah, it is a detailed response because that I guess that's what we are mentioning in the prompt. But yeah, it does provide a summary after the times, which is quite useful. Okay. So again, you can ask another question, copy explanation, or we can just close this window. And yeah, I have provided a tab here, says how it all works, which will describe all the features here that I mentioned today and what they can do. And if you have any questions or any ideas or any concerns about this extension, please send me an email here on this email ID. Okay, and you can also let me know in the comments if there are any questions or if there is anything we can do to improve this extension. All right, so yeah, that's all. Thank you. Bye bye.